Hello, students. Welcome to the science class. Last 2 days we had discussed about the soil, the formation of the soil, what are the components of the soil. Today we will continue with this discussion with how to conserve the soil. As you know that soil has last yesterday only we were telling about how soil is destructed through erosion, so definitely we must employ certain methods, we must practice certain procedure so that our soil remains conserved. We can conserve the soil, we can protect the soil. Now some of the since the topsoil is a very much fertile soil, and it is very much valuable for the human life, including not only human life, for the life of the living beings. So we need to protect that topsoil portion from being blown away or washed away, because by erosion procedure we had seen that the very much or the most affected part is the topsoil part. So the process by which the top layer of the soil is preserved, it is preserved or prevented from being washed away, is known as the conservation of soil. That is, by this conservation method we are protecting the topsoil, we are stopping the topsoil from getting eroded away. Okay, so this is called the conservation, and for the conservation practices we need to employ certain methods which will help us to preserve the soil. So erosion can easily be reduced if the natural forces like moving water and wind can be weakened. So for this ways this can be done by this process. In the picture you can see the picture of a windmill, or say so you can see different methods are being employed to stop this stop means to reduce the force of this natural phenomenon. Now there is more erosion when the soil is loose. Obviously, when the soil can move away or sweep away, because if the soil contains loose particle, so any measures that help to hold the soil particle will work for stopping the stopping from blown away or stopping from erosion. It's just simple, like if we apply certain methods which are applicable or which are very important to hold the soil particles, then soil will not remain loose and it will not be blown away or washed away. So this process by which the soil particles are hold together, this process is known as the conservation of the soil. So root of a plant and also tree, they are help to hold the soil particle together. In the picture also you can see the somebody is planting the plant, and we are always instructed for a forestation. Although tree has got definite and different method, different things to give, but most importantly it holds the soil particle and thereby stops the soil from getting eroded away, and thus help in the conservation of the soil. So the tree has to be planted, small saplings, small trees, big trees, herbs, whatever we can do, we can plant, we have to plant, because every roots of plant system, they can hold the soil particle together, they can, and thereby they are helping the um, soil from being eroded away. Next is in this process, making the burns and embankment is very essential. Like during the flood, there is an overflowing water from the river which is carried away, and so soils are being carried away from the banks of the river and the fields nearby. So you can see that is during the river, that during the heavy flood, how the soils are being carried away by the river or by the water body to nearby, in the field respect to the nearby fields respectively. So as a result of which, this washing away of the soil can be stopped by building embankments made of bricks and concrete along the banks of the river. See, this is the picture. If the bank of the river is being paved with the building or embankment, that will cause to stop the erosion of the soil. And so these embankment also prevent the water from entering and places entering the places suitable on the banks and causing the damage to life and property. Okay, so making embankment is a very essential in order to stop the soil erosion process and thus helping to conserve the soil. Now, cutting the terrace or say or furrows, the flow of water can be stopped, or the especially in the hilly area, the flow of water is obvious in the hills, carrying away soil and causing lot of damage. So this can be prevented if the flow is made slower. Okay, so by this process, if the flow of the water can be made slower, the erosion or the damage will be lesser, because in the hills, while coming the water, they cause huge amount of loss. And this can also be done by cutting furrows or the terrace, as you had shown previous pictures, that is cutting furrows or terrace farming, or cutting the slopes, we can reduce the effect. This method of growing crops by cutting steps is also known as the contour farming. You can see in the picture, different contour means different altitudes, like the different layers are being cut and crops are grown into those areas, which stops the erosion of the rich fertile soil from the hills to the plains, which is caused by heavy rains. So which is caused by heavy rains could be stopped. Here it is very clear, in the hill you can see the terrace farming is done. Okay, this is only because to stop the soil erosion, as well as to, because in hilly areas we can get less fertile land, so whatever we resources we get, we can do the cultivation in those areas. See, this can be this is a lush green field, as well as the crop cultivation. This is the crop rotation is also a major method of conserving the soil. That is the fertility. By this process, the first fertility of the soil also can be restored by growing different crops and by employing the method of crop rotation. Like, it means the growing of the different varieties of the crop one after the other, instead of growing the same variety of crop. Because it is a very common sense that, me, suppose I like to eat A, so I will continuously like to eat A food, A type of food. That is very essential. That, so after some days the A type of food will be lost. So then what will I eat? So there will be scarcity of food. The similar thing happens with the crop. Suppose you are growing particular A variety of crop, which is fond of eating, say, calcium, or say which is fond of taking, say, a mineral from the soil. Now if that crop is cultivated throughout the year, then automatically the soil will lack this mineral or this nutrition, because constantly the crop will take that nutrition only. So if we do that crop rotation, like first we will take about a crop that will take the x, say x nutrition, then we are planting the B crop which is taking Y nutrition, and by the time the X nutrition is again replenished in the soil, so constantly the soil will not suffer scarcity of nutrition, and crops also will grow healthy, which can cover the soil particle and which can hold the soil particle tightly, which will not allow the soil erosion process. Okay, So crop rotation no doubt is very essential method to stop the crop rotation, and this helps to supply different minerals to the soil, as I have told you, which otherwise would get exhausted if the same type of crop are grown regularly. So crop rotation is a very essential method in soil conservation. Okay, so by this method, by today's class, we had learned different methods by which soil can be conserved and soil can be stopped from erosion. So I think by this lecture, by this class, you had understood this chapter. In the next class, we will discuss some of the important terminologies which we had learned from this chapter. Okay, so till then, all of you take care.